Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. All right, let's get things started today with our cosmic weather. See what kind of energy we're dealing with today. We've got solar wind blowing at 333.1 kilometers per second. Planetary K index of 1 could get up to 02 in the next 24 hours. And nothing in the way of corona holes that we can see. And we got the M-class flares, X-class flares. This has been lower. It was, 25 the other day, so now we're down to 15. And really next to nothing for the geomagnetic storms. Usually they're about in this range, 1% chance. Something here. So things are kind of quiet out there with our space weather and stuff. We've got the meteor showers, so pay attention to that over the weekend. Get your camera ready. It has been going on. And you'll be able to get some good pictures and stuff. All right, moving right along astrologically. Let me move over so you can see it better. Here we are. We are in the moon phase between two signs again. So that's the void of course. The void of course is where we're changing guard from one element to the next. So Taurus is the element of earth. We're going into Gemini, which is an element of air. So our unconscious mind is going to go from the earth to the air. So earth is like practicality, things earth are physical, all manifest, create. But then air is more fluid. Air moves around, has a lot more movement than the physical does. The physical is stationary. Air is moving. So right there in itself, you could see there's a difference in the way the energy moves. Okay? So that's part of the adjustment that's going on. And so today might be a day of getting yourself up and going. Maybe finding that some things that you've been thinking about the last day or so, now it's time to take action. Now you're figuring out how to do it. You're figuring out how to get going, how to express yourself. Because Gemini is all about expressing itself. Gemini is words and actions, communications. Taurus is practicality. So we're taking that practicality and going to learn how to communicate it. And that's what's going on unconsciously underneath the surface. Well, on the outside the surface, we've got Leo, a fire sign. So the fire sign is creativity and ideas. That's what we're looking to express with our fire sign, with our conscious mind. And our unconscious mind is there saying, hey, be practical about it. And, let's find new ways to express ourselves. And so that's what's going on. So over the course of the weekend, you've got the Gemini that you're going to be dealing with is the moon sign tomorrow and on Sunday as well. So this should be a good weekend, good communication. Good communication. Get out there, talk with your friends. Probably have some really good conversations. Get a journal, write some stuff down. A lot of ideas floating through your head and so on. And we move over to our current moon phase. We're 42% of the way full. It means only 42% left till we get back down to a new moon again. And then the Mayan Oracle, today we're at a 9-tone day. The 9-tone is called the solar tone of intention. The solar tone of intention. And then the kin for today, right in the middle, is the wizard. The wizard's all about timelessness. And then the dog above it is the guide. It's about love and loyalty. Think about a dog. Man's best friend, we say, right? So we've got timelessness guided by love, loyalty, and it's all dealing with the energy of the 9, which is the solar tone of intention. So today then would be the intention of timelessness guided by loyalty or guided by love. And we have the supporting cast members. We got the seed, which is the challenge energy of the day. We got the like-minded energy, which is the serpent. And then the hidden energy, our hidden power, is our ability to create, to use our hands to build. And we can see here this 9th position represented right here in the wave spell. We're in this 13-day wave spell of the World Bridger. We're during this phase. Everything is themed according to this first symbol right here, the World Bridger, which is all about the lessons of life and death. So these are the lessons we're learning along the way, and today we're learning the timelessness of the process of life and death. All right, the phrase for today I pulse in order to enchant, realizing receptivity. I seal the output of timelessness with the solar tone of intention. I am guided by the power of heart, and on the Gregorian calendar, Friday, August 10th, 2012. Yeah, it's February already. We've jumped. It's August 10th. All right. This week, the theme has been 9/11. So I've played a little bit of a variety of different clips and documentaries for you to be aware of. Today I'm going to play for you part 1 of Fabled Enemies. This is a really good one, and if you haven't seen this one, well, this has a lot of great information, just like all the other ones you've seen this week. Check it out. Here we go.
Before we do, we've got another check of the weather from Mr. Roper. Al, it is such a pretty morning, isn't it?
Perfect fall morning.
This is an NBC News special report. Here is Tom Brokaw.
September 11th, the year 2001, a day unlike any other in the long course of American history, a terrorist act of war against this country.
Your life is going to change, but more important, your son's life is going to change forever. America will never be the same after September 11th, 2001.
Oh my God! He's on almost everyone's list of the most likely suspects for today's attacks.
The alleged mastermind, America's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden.
He has described the United States as the devil. This is the beast.
Meanwhile, Osama bin Laden is a name that we have been hearing all day long.
They now believe that bin Laden was responsible.
I'm told that Osama bin Laden likely deployed more than 50 terrorists.
They are now, and I'm quoting here, 90% certain.
Somebody provided the logistical support for this operation, and clearly the only person.
Bin Laden comes to mind right away, Mr. Brimmer.
Indeed, he certainly does. Bin Laden. This is his M.O.
We have to look to the Middle East. We have to look to Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Remember, 24 hours ago, it was the Bush tax cut, the Bush budget, the Bush economy. You don't hear any of that tonight. It's America's enemy. America's under attack.
Within hours of the attacks on the Trade Center, there seemed to be one suspect, billionaire terrorist Osama bin Laden, and his band of ragtag extremists Al-Qaeda were to blame. They successfully struck the #1 military power in the world in an unprecedented fashion. America would never be the same. The Patriot Acts, Homeland Security, domestic wiretapping and surveillance, the loss of civil liberties, all in order to fight terror and protect us here at home. Is Osama bin Laden really responsible for the attacks of September 11th? If so, why can't we apprehend him? Did you know the FBI does not list 9/11 as one of bin Laden's crimes? Why not? According to Rex Toome, Chief of Investigative Publicity for the FBI, it is because there is no hard evidence linking bin Laden to the attacks. If that is the case, how could the 9/11 Commission conclude it was the work of 19 radical Muslims from the Middle East, under the direction of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Osama bin Laden? Bin Laden has been universally blamed for 9/11, but if one takes a closer look at the available evidence, it points to a much darker power. 7 years later, what evidence has been gathered? Let's begin with the hijackers. Many of them were actually trained within U.S. military bases. On September 15, 2001, Newsweek reported that U.S. military sources have given information that suggests 5 of the alleged hijackers received training at secure U.S. military installations in the 90s. Saeed al-Ghamdi, Ahmed al-Nami, and Ahmed al-Ghamdi listed their address on driver's licenses and car registrations as the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, Florida. Another indication of how the hijackers were tied to U.S. bases was reported on September 12th by Fox in D.C. They stated, congratulatory phone calls were made from a separate aeronautical school in Florida, which suggests inside help for the hijackers.
Now, here at Embry-Riddle School in Daytona Beach, investigators say that they did indeed intercept cell phone calls that originated out of here, calls that were congratulatory after yesterday's attacks, calls the feds say were made by terrorist sympathizers here in Daytona as well as in Broward County.
The New York Times would report that the Defense Department said that Atta had gone to the International Officer School at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, Abdul Aziz Al-Amari to the Aerospace Medical School at Brooks Air Force Base in Texas, and Saeed al-Ghamdi to the Defense Language Institute at the Presidio in Monterey, California. The Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs at the Defense Language Institute, where al-Ghamdi trained, went public and said, Bush knew of the impending attacks on America. He did nothing to warn the American people because he needed this war on terrorism. He was quickly disciplined and threatened with court-martial. Even when neighbors called the CIA on hijacker Walid al-Shiari, nothing was done.
Now, you might think that some of the neighbors would be shocked to find out that a suspected terrorist lived right down the street from them, but at least one woman we spoke with was not surprised at all. Diane Albritton was so concerned about what was happening inside the home at 502 Orange Street, she called the CIA. Why was she suspicious?
The odd coming and going, the different rental cars, the odd-looking people that came and went.
At that time, she says, the agency was not interested.
How could it be that the CIA wasn't interested in this woman's story? Other government officials would go public as well. J. Michael Springman, a former head of the Visa Department in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, would blow the whistle that the United States was taking part in covert programs as far back as 1987 to funnel in and protect Islamic terrorists.
Well, it began in Jeddah when I was repeatedly told to issue visas to unqualified applicants. This went on for quite some time during most of my tour there. Under the American immigration laws, you need to demonstrate that you're going to the United States for a specific purpose. And typically, in such a situation, you're going to sign a business deal, or you're going to go as a tourist to see the Grand Canyon, or you're going to the United States as a student to study a particular course of study. And these were people that had no job in one instance. He was a Sudanese who was unemployed in Saudi Arabia and a refugee from the Sudan. But he got a visa for national security purposes after it was taken out of my hands by the chief of the consular section.
At basis, though, I really think that these were more CIA assets, people that were recruited, like all of the folks I've been issuing visas to a couple of years previously. And these people were tools to be done for a job. Well, the visas issued to the hijackers in Jeddah came about as a result of it being a CIA consulate. It was the 5th largest visa issuing post in the Middle East. It was pretty much a closed system, and they simply brought them through there, knowing that they would be protected by the agency, that people would get their visas, or if they didn't get the visas, they could be made to be given visas.
Once I got back to the United States and was out of the Foreign Service, I ran across a couple of people with ties to the American government that told me another story, that the CIA was recruiting fighters for the Afghan war against the then Soviets, and that their asset, Osama bin Laden, was working with them.
In the early 1980s, bin Laden worked with operatives from U.S. intelligence, the Pakistani military, and Arab states. They ran a wide-ranging covert network that recruited and financed Muslim fighters to battle the Soviet army.
It is now known that Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset under the codename Tim Osman. Bin Laden would use this handle when he would visit the States.
The relationship between bin Laden and the CIA was essentially, he was one of their assets, one of the people they could turn to for help if they had questions. If they wanted somebody recruited, if they wanted somebody sent somewhere, if they wanted information, if they wanted something done, they went to bin Laden.
Bin Laden isn't wanted by the FBI, and he was on a CIA payroll? Is he the brutal Islamic terrorist we have been led to believe, or a mere frontman?
My question was, is it not true that the United States government paid $300 million to the bin Laden family for the construction of the military camps? At that point, then the person who was testifying.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today I have 6 stories. First story comes to us from up by the sun. And we're told this is a long UFO harvesting energy from the Earth's sun. Alright, let's see what we have here. Looking at NASA SOHO photos, I saw this long mysterious craft. Noticed that its thickness is the same from end to end. If aliens harvest something from our sun, would it cause enough disturbances to cause this extreme summer we are having? Good question. Okay, here we go. There's our little craft right here. You see it at a distance. Let's see if we click, if we get anything here. No, just the pictures. Alright, so there you go. Those 3 good pictures for you to look at. Close, closer, closest. Alright, next story here. This is a UFO over LAX airport. On their cam. Alright. There you go. A couple good objects up there. Lights are back. These glowing lights are visible now on live ABC cam. I saw these glowing UFOs once before and posted a video to YouTube, but it's been a long time since they came back. If you check right now, you may see them, and if you do, please leave a comment below. These change positions and are not airplanes. Planes do not travel so close together. Alright, let's see. Do we have the actual camera here? We just got pictures. I think we just got pictures. Alright. Pretty good sighting, though. I can't tell if this is... Looks like maybe 2 particular objects, or is it like multiple objects and they're not connected together? Alright, maybe these aren't connected here. That's pretty good. What do you think this is? Check it out. The link's available. Let me know what you think. Alright, this is a UFO sighting over Zhenjiang, China. There you go. Kind of similar. We've seen these lights before. Mumbai friends told us of this news and photographed the UFO over Zhenjiang, China. Yesterday at 1900 on the 7th of August, he and his brother were in the Zhenjiang train station near South Square and photographed a flying object that was unlike any known aircraft. They suspected it was a UFO. Alright. That's it. So it looks like it's all part of one craft here with all of the front lights on. Or very interesting. What's our other one here? Alright. This one here takes us to hovering above Cala de Finestrat, Spain. Okay, let's see what we got. We got a video here. That's pretty good sighting. Good size object. This was above Spain on the 7th of August. Alright. Very good. It's just hanging out there. And then we have a sighting in Tijuana on the 8th. So these sightings are all over the world, aren't they? There's no prejudice about where they are. Alright, wow, we got a grouping of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a good group of them over Tijuana. And you see, if they were here to invade, guess what? They'd be invading. Because right now, they've blown the element of surprise. So, they're not here to invade. There's other purposes. Right now, it's about having people be able to look up and see that there's nothing to be afraid of. All right, and our very last one here is new Olympics UFO spotted over Camden. This is a UFO sighting over the night skies of Camden, England, is the kind of incident which can turn skeptics into true believers. There's nothing like being at a loss for an explanation. The unidentified flying object in question this time is so strange looking, it's easy to see why some people prefer to keep an open mind when it comes to aliens and UFOs. Bright white orb just hovers silently in the sky over an outdoor party being held in the London neighborhood of Camden, England, just miles from the Olympic Games. Two of the revelers, one luckily named, armed with an iPhone, take their eye off the street action long enough to look at the weird object just floating noiselessly above. All right? And this is the object there in question. I don't think we have any video here. Wait, this might be the video. All right. And it just, there you go, just single object there. We've seen this plenty of times, but this was flying in England. All right. So there you go. That's our UFO news for today. You know, getting all kind of sightings. We're going to talk about some of the Olympic stuff in a bit, but I'll be right back. We got some more news and information, so stay tuned. Here we go.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth. People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid of them. 9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land and two if I see? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, continuing on. Let's see here. Okay, so the upcoming RNC convention's coming up. We know that the GOP is just going nuts because Ron Paul is, well, he's having an effect. You know, don't you think it's weird? You hear all this stuff about Romney. Romney's the presumptive nominee. But then you hear stories that Romney's trying to get Ron Paul's delegates taken away from him. Well, why? Why would Romney be concerned about Ron Paul's delegates? Doesn't make sense, does it? Unless, of course, Romney is not having the effect that he thinks he's having or that the mainstream media is having. So this is one of the things that's going on. In Maine, the Romney campaign is trying to get delegates taken away from Ron Paul there because Ron Paul has the plurality of delegates in enough states to be put on nomination. So if he can get them taken away, well, that's the objective. So Romney's team is somehow involved, and delegates got a letter, and it says in an apparent attempt to bind not only the delegates who support Ron Paul, but the tongues of those delegates as well, the Republican National Committee is trying to intimidate the delegates from Maine into casting their votes for the presumptive nominee, Mitt Romney. After being rebuffed by the Maine delegation, the state's Republican Party proposed a compromise, and on August 7th, Maine's delegation rejected that compromise. You see, here's what the GOP doesn't understand. If someone's supporting Ron Paul, they're not just supporting Ron Paul, the man, they're supporting the liberty movement, a movement that is taking place. And the people that are behind and within and understanding this movement will not compromise. So the Romney campaign and the GOP who are trying to get the Paul people, the liberty, the constitutional, all of those who are standing up to get us to compromise, it ain't going to happen. So there's going to be a real struggle going on at this convention, the one coming up. It's going to be really fascinating to see what's going on. I will be there, so you're going to have an opportunity to see some live streams of what's taking place there. Now, moving over from there to Obama, here's another story about him. This is a weird one. Tea Party author says evidence prove Obama is married to a Pakistani man. How about that? A Pakistani man. And there's a video. Let's check this video out right here. Let's see what this is all about.
This is Jerry Corsi with a special report for the members of 1776nation.com. I want to talk about a couple of the stranger articles I've written for WND.com recently. They raise the question whether or not Barack Obama is gay or bisexual. Now, this is something I've accumulated a great deal of evidence on. We're going to be able to present much more of it in September. The evidence, I think, is very strong. The question is not to condemn Obama here for being bisexual or gay, if that's in fact what he is, but to wonder why he's gone to the extent of hiding it, especially when he so strongly now is supporting same-sex marriage. What's the duplicity? What's the hypocrisy? And, okay, what's the evidence? Now, this video is going to be dedicated to the question, was Obama married before he was married? I've written a series of articles showing that, surprisingly, in a bunch of pictures that everyone's seen of Obama when he was in college, beginning about 1971, through his Harvard law years, which are the early 1990s, just before he got engaged to Michelle, he was wearing a wedding ring. Now, we've all seen these pictures, and in fact, I'm not sure you'll be able to see them real clearly, but I want to scroll through the articles and you'll know the pictures. This is the one of Obama in Central Park with the grandparents when he was supposedly attending Columbia. It's been highly criticized because the grandfathers...
I'm not going to play anymore because I want you to be able to see it good. But the link's there so you can, do it full screen, see this. Pretty interesting, huh? I mean, do you think that we should have a president in office that we know so little about? No wonder the country has problems. When you got the leader who is so unavailable and so mysterious, it's hard for the country to really move forward clearly. Okay, Ben Swan, this is a reality check report. He's got some Fast and Furious information here this time, and Ben's always on point, so let's listen to what he has to say.
Well, the ATF gun runner and Fast and Furious operations, which spanned both the Bush and the Obama administrations, are two of the most stunning government operations to have come unraveled in years. Tonight, new and stunning accusations about Fast and Furious and why one high-ranking drug cartel official says Americans have it all wrong. Ben has the reality check you won't see anywhere else.
We've told you before that Justice Department memos obtained by CBS prove that the feds plan to use the numbers from Fast and Furious to push for stricter gun laws in the U.S. The attempt was to claim that the majority of guns headed into Mexico and being used by drug cartels were coming from the United States. But that is simply not true. Well, today, TheBlaze.com began reporting excerpts from a soon-to-be-released book titled The Weed That Just Won't Die by Reed Williams. Williams looks into federal documents surrounding the case of Jesus Vicente Zambada Nebla, known as the Sinaloa Cartel's logistics coordinator. Now, this guy was extradited to Chicago last year to face federal drug charges. Now, before we get into all that, we should explain how the drug trade in Mexico worked prior to the start of this drug war. For decades, Mexican drug cartels existed independently of each other. They didn't work together, but they did stay out of each other's regions. So to understand, take a look at this map. These are the major cartels in Mexico. We'll start over here in this top corner. This is the Arellano Felix organization up here in orange. It has trade routes into Southern California through Tijuana, and it's a very profitable group. The Beltran Leyva organization is a less large cartel, but still pretty powerful. There's Los Zetas. That's this whole pink area right here. They're actually a paramilitary group created by our government. They were actually trained to take out cartel leaders, but went into Mexico and became a cartel of their own. Then you have the Gulf Cartel, who has been heavily at war with Los Zetas. Down here in the dark green, you have La Familia Michoacana. You have the Creo Fuentes organization. That's up here in this little purple one. They actually look like they would be the smallest territory, and land-wise they are. But they're actually one of the most powerful drug cartels in many ways, because their routes go up through West Texas, through El Paso, and Ciudad Juarez. And finally, and this is very important to the story, is this light green right here. That is the territory of the Sinaloa cartel. Look, if you want to understand Mexico's drug war, then you have to understand how the Sinaloa cartel works. A man by the name of Joaquin Guzman, also known as Chapo Guzman, is the head of this cartel. In 2001, Guzman was being held in a Mexican prison. He actually escaped from that prison in a laundry truck. He went back and took control of the Sinaloa cartel. And when Guzman did, he began a war with all these other cartels across Mexico. The goal here, the attempt, was to create one super cartel by wiping out all of the competition. It has been long believed in Mexico that Joaquin Chapo Guzman got a lot of help. And that is the war that has been fought in Mexico heavily since 2006. So back to the Fast and Furious allegations here. The man making those claims, again, Zambada Nebla, is a close associate of Chapo Guzman and the Sinaloa cartel's logistics coordinator. Zambada Nebla claims that under a divide-and-conquer strategy, the U.S. helped finance and arm the Sinaloa cartel through Operation Fast and Furious in exchange for information that allowed the DEA, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and other federal agencies to take down rival drug cartels. The Sinaloa cartel was allegedly permitted to traffic massive amounts of drugs across the U.S. from 2004 to 2009. During both Fast and Furious and the Bush-era gun-running operations, as long as the intel kept coming. And there is more. Based on the alleged agreement, the Sinaloa cartel, under the leadership of the defendant's father, Ismael Zambada Nebla, and Chapo Guzman, were given carte blanche to continue smuggling tons of illicit drugs into Chicago and the rest of the United States. They were also protected by the United States government from arrest and prosecution in return for providing information against rival cartels, which helped Mexican and United States authorities capture or kill thousands of rival cartel members. States in Motion filed for discovery in United States District Court by Zambata Nebla's attorney in July of 2011. So what you need to know is that members of Congress from both parties should now say, look, let's demand to see everything, every single file connected to Fast and Furious and Operation Gunrunner. That means Republicans should not be focused only on the years when the Obama administration had control. Rather, go back to the beginning during the Bush administration. And Democrats, they should be demanding to see exactly what the ATF has been doing. Not just for the nearly 50,000 Mexican citizens who have died during this drug war, but for the thousands who are yet to die. And that is Reality Check.
If you'd like to...
Okay, so our government helped to fund some of the cartel out there. And then our government helped to fund, the CIA helped to fund the Al-Qaeda. You see there's a trend going on. Our government likes to fund, and it's unfortunate because when I say our government, I don't want you to think I'm a government hater. I'm not. I think there's a lot of good people out there in the government. We just have a system that unfortunately is broken. So even though there's a lot of good people out there trying to work within a broken system, it's still a broken system. But within that system, there's a small group, and those are the troublemakers, and they're making it bad for everybody. And we know who they are. We see them all the time. It's the same stories. So, we hear stories like this. Look, DOJ will not prosecute Goldman Sachs and financial crisis probe. Why? Why wouldn't that? Why do we hear stories that they're not prosecuting organizations like this? Why do we hear that Fast and Furious isn't investigated? Why do we have 9/11 just goes to the wayside? They don't care. And it's unfortunate that it keeps going on. Now, things seem to be building to a head, and you really don't have to be a brain surgeon to understand that something's going on to pay attention to, because the stories keep popping up. Here's another one. 11 things that can happen when you allow your country to become enslaved by the bankers. Now, this is something that the founding fathers warned about. We didn't listen, so here we are. Let me just scroll down to some of the points here. It said at some point nations are drowning in debt. They must implement austerity measures. Well, we're hearing about austerity measures taking place around the world. Economic progress can actually go backwards in a debt-based system. Your banking system will eventually melt down at some point. We're hearing rumors of this, and we're seeing things and stories go on with bankers and stories of losses. Countries with a debt-based system, eventually your taxes will be raised. We're hearing the stories of these kind of discussions going on around the world. Currency slowly will steadily become worthless. When things get bad enough, there will be rioting in the streets. And of course, we know that they're preparing for the riots. When a debt-based economy crashes, money becomes very tight and shortages tend to happen. Population will eventually become so desperate that they will start banding together to loot food and supplies from stores. If things get bad enough, even essential services may start shutting down. Economic depression, many people begin to totally lose hope. And just like we saw driving the Great Depression of the 30s, there's a spike in suicides when an economy crashes. It's because people are putting their faith in money. Don't put your faith in money. Don't put your faith in those kind of things. Put your faith in God. Put your faith in a higher power, because there is something going on right now which is much bigger. Remember, there's the physical that we can deal with, but there's also the spiritual. And we're spiritual beings, and we're having a physical experience. So we have to remember that and always check back to the spirit, because when we do, we'll kind of take a break from all of this nonsense, because it's nonsense, isn't it? This isn't how life should be lived. But for those who are down here to assist with this process of change, hey, this is what we're here for, to assist with the process of change. Now, here's from shtfplan.com. Prepare for what is coming. There is a very present danger that is facing every American. All right, this is a warning from Charlie McGrath. You are under assault. There is a very present danger that is facing every American citizen who listens to me right now. Every citizen of this planet who listens to me right now, you are under attack. All right. You know what? Let's just listen to what Charlie has to say, because he's got a lot of passion in him.
My name is Charlie McGrath. I'm the founder of WideAwakeNews.com and a host on the Rinse Radio Network. You are under assault. This is a warning. You are under assault. There is a very present danger that is facing every American citizen who listens to me right now. Every citizen of this planet who listens to me right now. You are under attack. Look, I can pull headlines of the day and give you an exact illustration of what I'm talking about. Market rally, just a setup for a big collapse coming. Bernanke says student loans won't cause crisis. Over 100 million now receiving federal welfare. And I've got the Department of Homeland Security adding to their recent purchases 700 pounds of ammonium nitrate 4 days before the Democratic National Convention. Lake Oswego man assaulted for anti-Obama poster. Fredona man cited for strangling anti-Obama, or trying to strangle an anti-Obama endorser. I got Mitt Romney being lambasted by the blue media for his tax evasion, so-called tax evasion, and how he's going to bring women back to the 1950s if he's elected president. This is an assault on you, the American people. This is an assault on your intelligence and an assault on your freedom. You need to understand exactly where we are. Red, blue, irrelevant. These arguments of did Romney close this business down? Did he pay this tax? Is he going to bring women back to the 50s? Is Obama going to keep the welfare state, nanny state going? Do you really, for one instant of a second, think that they're going to make a difference either way? Do you really think there's an agenda, a left ideology or a right ideology that is in play here? These are irrelevant pieces of garbage media. 100 million people on food stamps? Well, duh, 100 million people on some kind of welfare? Of course, this is what we've done over the last 5 years in order to pretend that we are in recovery. The whole time, what's happening? We're piling on more and more and more debt onto the future of people of this country and the planet. Are we going to talk about what's going on with the market? I mean, we're over 13,000 points. Well, of course we are. Because the crime that has occurred to the people of this planet has nothing to do with the red and blue team garbage. It has everything to do with the green team. And I'm talking about the power elite on Wall Street who have co-opted and control our so-called representative government and governments of this planet. We have spent trillions of dollars that we know about, to the tune of $9 to $17 trillion conservative estimates over the last 4 years, bailing out this economy. So of course we're going to have 100 million people where we've papered over this economy who are on food stamps. Of course we're going to see a rally in the stock market because the too big to fail cannot lose. But the crime that's happening, the assault that's occurring on you, taxpayer of this country, citizen of this planet, what's happening to you isn't about a red or blue team. It's about a complete and total dismantling of a nation, a dismantling of a constitution, and an implementation of control from on high, dominant financial authority overtaking this planet. It is not a coincidence that inside all these articles you see the Department of Homeland Security bringing on 700 pounds of ammonium nitrates 4 days before the National Convention, the Democratic National Convention. Now, of course, they say it so they can train a bunch of dogs to sniff for these things. But 700 pounds equates to training about 11,000 dogs all at the exact same time. It's not coincidence that the Department of Homeland Security and the government in general is picking up all kinds of riot gear. It's because they know the collapse is coming. They know the engineered collapse that has been papered over and caused 100 million people to be on the government dole, that has caused, trillions of dollars of our future wealth being given to a bunch of bankers. They know the day of reckoning is coming, and when they do, they want 30,000 drones in the air. They want thousands of riot-ready police force on the street, and they want you bickering with your neighbor because you voted Romney or you voted Obama. Get it through your head, folks. If you don't understand it by now, it is almost, the time is running out rapidly. You need to understand there is no change coming with Romney than we have with Obama. There is no change coming in term 2 with Obama. They dance to the tune of the same people who have not been prosecuted or brought to justice for destroying this planet's economy. There's people dying tonight because of what has happened to this economy on this planet. There's people dying in the Middle East and North Africa. Literally, wars are being waged because of economic terrorism that has occurred on this planet. It will come to this country. The government, the powers that be, are getting ready for it. This is why these stories of adding things such as riot gear and drones and making sure that precedent law says that they can use drones to prosecute you. This is why this is at the forefront. This is why it's going to continue to get worse. There is no fair election coming in November. There is no candidate coming that's going to set us free. We need to understand. We need to spread the word. We need to prepare for what's coming because they're broadcasting what's coming. And it is going to be a collapse of the social order, a collapse of the financial order, so they can implement their agenda that they've been trying this whole entire time to broadcast to us that they want to do, which is total financial global governance. We will be their debt slaves if we don't wake up and stop it now. Stories are attached. That's all I got.
All right, so you see, I am not the only one that is talking about this. There's lots of others like Charlie, all frustrated by what's going on because you can see, I mean, come on, we're not blind, right? Here's another one. U.S. Army tactical manuals describe how to control domestic insurrection. So they're preparing how to deal with the American people. In 2010, the U.S. Army Operating Concept 2016 through 2028 was published and explains how armed forces in the U.S. and overseas will behave in the future. Specific tactical operations, special theater, and organized forces are outlined along with capabilities and priorities of the U.S. Armed Divisions. So they are preparing for action against the American people. Now, what is going to be the trigger point that's going to start all of this? That we don't know. But we can certainly tell by all of the different clues out there that something is going on. Now, why would they put all these clues out? So obvious for people to see. Well, it's because there's a lot of people who are seeing the clues and are absolutely clueless about what they're seeing. So because of that, things are just put in plain sight. All right, I got one more piece here about 9/11. This is something else I want you to be aware of. It's called Explosive Truth. This is the trailer for 9/11 Explosive Truth. Experts speak out. This is from architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. And I want you to have the link available so you can watch this series as well, because this is a good one. Really good one.
I don't want to be involved in conspiracy theories. There are lots of them. They can go on. We can speculate on that forever. What we really need to know is how those buildings came down.
World Trade Center 7 collapsed because of fires fueled by office furnishings. It did not collapse from explosives or from fuel oil fires.
To undermine scientific integrity is to undermine our democracy.
This is what NIST has done, denied and ignored crucial evidence.
The American people absolutely need the truth of 9/11.
More than 1,500 architects and engineers and 12,000 others, including many scientists, have signed the petition calling for a scientific investigation of the destruction of the Twin Towers and World Trade Center Building 7. The report, issued by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, referred to as NIST, was not valid science.
They're talking about a single columnar collapse or failure that resulted in a total collapse of the building.
Building number 7 descended in free fall for the first 100 feet, which means that there was absolutely no resistance to the descent whatsoever.
So all of the columns really needed to be severed at the same time.
The symmetry is the smoking gun.
NIST has admitted it went into free fall for 8 stories.
You don't need to be an engineer or an architect to see what happened to those buildings.
Dit is controlled demolition.
Zeker weten.
Zeker weten.
What I saw
it was a classic implosion. The center of the core, the penthouse area, starts to move first, and then the building follows along with it.
NIST excluded the document from FEMA in Appendix C that documented the evidence of melting steel.
In an office fire, you cannot generate enough heat to melt steel.
There were these iron microspheres present in all of the dust samples. They needed to have been formed in extremely high temperatures.
All the characteristics of the microspheres, along with what I see in the attack of the beams that were actually found, tell me that thermite was involved in melting those steel beams.
In the dust, what we have found is a modern version of thermite, which we call nanothermite.
NIST concedes that they found no evidence for explosives. So then we asked them, well, did you look? And they said, no, we did not look for explosives or residues of explosives.
And in fact, the evidence is overwhelming that these red-grade crystals are very high-temperature incendiaries.
And we have watched as scientific integrity has been undermined and scientific research politicized in an effort to advance predetermined ideological agendas.
If this is a crime, I think everybody agrees it's a crime. Evidence was removed from the scene of the crime. You can't do science when you are deprived of the evidence and when your hypothesis is the least valid instead of the most likely. When the most likely hypothesis in the case of Building 7 wasn't even mentioned. This is not science.
All right. AE911truth.org. All right, the reason I wanted to show you that one was because over the course of the week, we've been doing a 9/11 theme here. There's so many pieces out there about 9/11, so many, and it's just amazing that people could still be in denial. But now you've gotten a little bit dose of some of the really good ones out there, the psychology of what's going on, and that psychology, you know, that applies to all sorts of things. Because right now we're in a world where we need to, unfortunately, be aware of these false flag events. Not because we are people who are suspicious of things going on all the time, but because there's a history and a trend that the governments of the world have for doing these sorts of things. If they never did it before, then we wouldn't have to look out for it. But because they've done them in the past, and they've done them over and over, now we need to watch out because they're not to be trusted. And somehow or another, we need to get these rogue elements out of our administration and out of our governments so that the good people can do their work. Because the good people, well, they're afraid of the bad people, apparently, because they're not standing up to them, or they're aware. It's like the whole Obama thing. Look, you tell me that Romney and the GOP and they don't know, and Congress doesn't know that Obama has a history that is questionable. You tell me that they don't know? Come on, they know. So why aren't they talking about it if they know? Because they're embarrassed? Because they'd have to admit that they knew? Or because they want to keep the American people in the dark? I don't know. I don't have an answer. What is it? They have to know. They're not stupid. They have access to the same internet and same information that we do right here. And if we can scour the internet, we can find this information. Surely the people in Congress and the judiciary branch of the government, surely they can get in and find this information. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't have the same kind of computers we have. All right. Anyway, moving right along, changing gears here. Crop circle. This was a new one. This crop circle came to Cheesefoot Head near Winchester, Hampshire. Okay. This is a very interesting looking one here. Series of shapes all hooked together. See the pattern a little more close up. All right. What do you think that could be? Now this next one over here, it's the same crop circle, but there's been a bit of an analysis that has been done on this already. Calling it endless knot here. And you could see a lot of analysis already going on. It's very interesting. Check that out, see what you think. All right. That brings us to our Napoleon Hill piece for today. Today I'm going to play, this is piece number 10. We've been on a roll with Napoleon all week. This one is called Overcoming Adversity and Defeat. It's a good theme to lead us into the weekend because with all the stuff that's going on, we have to think positive to know that we can and will overcome it all adversity. Because just remember, who wins in the end? The hero wins in the end. The good guy wins in the end. So the stuff that the governments are doing, they're the bad guys. Bad guys are going to lose. Good guys, us, we're going to win. We just have to go through the nonsense. We have to endure, overcome this adversity because it's going to make us all stronger. Anyway, I'm going to stop babbling now so you can watch this. Here we go. Napoleon Hill, Part 10.
Our 10th visit brings us to one of the strangest of the 17 principles of success, because it is the principle which makes it possible for you to convert into an asset every adversity, every disappointment, every defeat, and every failure you meet with from now on the remainder of your life. Yes, the principle of learning from adversity makes it possible for you to transmute all your past failures and mistakes into an asset which will help you achieve outstanding success in the future. At the very outset of this visit, I wish to call your attention to an important fact which may give you immediate possession of the great master key to success, namely, that your positive mental attitude is the only means by which you may convert adversities, defeats, and failures into assets. It seems to have been intended that everyone should experience adversities, defeats, and even failures as a part of nature's method of disciplining people to learn how to take possession of their own minds. But the Creator very wisely provided everyone with the means for converting these experiences into benefits of a priceless value, the means being our privilege of maintaining and directing a positive mental attitude. Despite the benefits which we may get from adversities and unpleasant experiences of every nature, no one desires to meet with these experiences. Once you learn that adversities can be made to pay dividends, you will acquire the habit of looking for that seed of an equivalent benefit in each such experience with which you meet. My first illustration concerns a man of whom you may have heard, and I have no doubt you have eaten some of the food which he produced and marketed throughout the nation as a result of an adversity which would have stopped most men cold. The man was Milo C. Jones, who owned a small farm near Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, on which he made only a fair living until he was stricken down with double paralysis, which deprived him of every portion of his body except his brain. In this hour of his greatest adversity, Milo C. Jones used his mind, took possession of it for the first time in his life, perhaps, and out of that mind came the idea of raising hogs and converting them into little pig sausage. And on that same farm, where previous to that adversity he made only a mere living, he found the seed of an equivalent benefit that compensated him for the loss of the use of his body and lived to see little pig sausage yield him a huge fortune. Isn't it strange that so often people have to be cut down by failure and defeat before they learn that they have minds capable of mastering all of their problems? My next illustration is based on an adversity of a man whom we all know because he was President of the United States, and his name was Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was stricken in the prime of his life with polio, which destroyed the use of his legs. Instead of sitting on a street corner with a tin cup and some lead pencils, as many another might have done under similar circumstances, Franklin D. Roosevelt transmuted his affliction into a buildup of his self-reliance and lifted himself to the highest position available to mankind anywhere on this earth, got that position and held it until he passed on, held it longer than had any previous president. Verily, I tell you with all the enthusiasm at my command, that you may find in your adversities the necessary challenge to inspire you on to success, such as you never would have known without these experiences. Right here, may I remind you of the great importance of following the principle of a positive mental attitude, because this is the principle you will need most in converting unpleasant experiences into assets. My next illustration involves a very intimate personal experience of my own, which began when my mother passed on. I was 8 years of age. I know that the loss of one's mother at any age usually is regarded as an irreparable loss which offers no possible benefits. But even in the loss of loved ones, we may find that there is a seed of an equivalent benefit. I found that seed in one of the most wonderful persons I have ever known when my father brought home my new mother. It was she who inspired me to prepare myself for the opportunity I was to receive later in life when I met Andrew Carnegie and received from him the commission to organize the world's first practical philosophy of personal success. Had it not been for the loss of my mother, I would not now be having this visit with you, and my books would not now be serving to help millions of people throughout the world to find their places in life. Nothing is ever so bad or so unpleasant that it may not yield some benefit if we keep a positive mental attitude toward the experience and make it a habit to look for that seed of an equivalent benefit. This, of course, involves the application of that important success principle, personal initiative. Now I come to an illustration which involves our great American way of life and all the personal freedom and opportunities we enjoy under our way of life. And it begins with our defeat of the British in 1778. Probably every Britisher believed that the loss of the American colonies was an irreparable loss which offered no possible benefits. Yet you and I know that if we had not defeated the British and made ourselves rich and powerful, the British Empire probably would have been wiped out in World Wars I or II. We know also that although the British Empire survived those two wars, it was our financial help which saved the British from starvation and bankruptcy. So, today, every Britisher should give thanks for the defeat of Lord Cornwallis's armistice, because that defeat finally became the means of survival of the British Empire. My next illustration brings us face to face with an adversity which involves you and I and every other person now living. I have reference to the trend in this and all other countries to rob individuals of their rights of personal freedom, a trend which is in direct violation of the obvious purpose of the Creator to give every individual the privilege of freedom of thought and action. There is something definite you and I can do about this common trend to rob us of our rights of personal freedom. We cannot turn it back entirely by our individual efforts, but we can and we should do something about it where it affects us individually and where we know what we can do and how we can do it. Of course you will ask, what can I do to influence a world trend? And I shall answer by saying there is something definite that you can do. You can refuse to accept this common trend and take full possession of your own mind, thus fulfilling your personal responsibility to your Creator. Remember those two sealed envelopes I mentioned in a previous visit. One of them is labeled riches you may enjoy by taking possession of your own mind. Very well, you have a responsibility to yourself, your loved ones, your Creator, to take possession of your own mind and to direct it to ends of your own choice. This responsibility is yours and no one else can rob you of it or fulfill it for you. You also have a responsibility to your country, which has given you our great American way of life. Our great system of free enterprise, which is so designed as to provide one with every possible motive for taking possession of his own mind and writing his own ticket in life. It is definitely a part of the overall plan of the universe to give man the benefit only of those blessings he recognizes, embraces, and uses constructively. Tie your arm to your side and take it out of use, and nature rebels immediately by causing the arm to atrophy, wither, and become useless. Neglect to keep in contact with your friends and to cultivate them, and you lose them. Show indifference to the patrons from whom you earn your living, or the employer who pays your wages, and very soon you find yourself without a market for your services. It is an inevitable law of nature that you lose that which you do not use. And of course this applies to the use of your own mind, the same as to everything else. And we who so often boast that we are citizens of the richest, the greatest, and the most powerful nation civilization has yet produced, will do well to remember this law, through which we lose that which we do not properly use. In this visit, I have brought you what may be a surprise or even a shock by introducing this great principle of profiting by adversity. If you are ready for this principle, you will embrace it at once, and never again, as long as you live, will you brood over unpleasant experiences without knowing full well that your efforts could be better employed by searching for that seed of an equivalent benefit which is available in those experiences. Now, before I conclude this visit, I shall give you this assignment which, if you carry it out sincerely, may well bring you a new birth of opportunity such as you never dreamed of experiencing. Go back into your past experiences, study each adversity and failure you may have experienced, and look for that seed of an equivalent benefit you had not before discovered, and you may find yourself richer than you believed yourself to be. And now, until our next visit, just remember, nothing can be called failure until you accept it as such.
All right, very good. Let's close out things with our meditation and our prayer. Close your eyes. Relax. All right, I'd like you to imagine that you are walking down a path, and at the end of this path, you see a cave. And you enter the cave, and as you enter, and your eyes get used to the darkness, you follow the path. And there's something familiar about this cave. Something that feels comfortable about this cave. And as you continue to walk and you make your way to the center, you find yourself in a large open area. And in the middle of this space is what appears to be a large computer system. And as you walk up and you mess around with the buttons, it turns on. Large screen monitors all around the room go on. And you feel a surge of energy go through your body. And you realize the reason it feels so comfortable is this cave is inside of you. And this machine you just activated, you've just taken control of your brain, of your mind, of your being. And you have in front of you all of the controls. And all that you need to do is learn how to use them. And as you do, you find that you're able to bring up on the screens information that you need. And as you are going through and learning how to operate the system, you find a folder labeled Past Failures. And you open the folder and you go inside. And there you have a dossier of things that you have done where you failed, or so you thought. And as you pick them up and you read through the dossier, you realize that though you thought you failed, that you actually learned. And you're able to see there in front of your eyes exactly the lesson that you learned through each experience. And you realize that it was necessary for the failure to have occurred in order for the learning to take place. And once you understand that, you realize there is no failure. Only a moment which needed to happen to get you to where you are now. So now, having understood that there are seeds of wisdom within the adversity, there are keys to success within defeat. Let us take these lessons and let us move out into the world, continuing along the path, fully confident because we're knowing how to operate the system. And as you see yourself walking along the path, and you see others along the path as well, notice the confidence on their face. Their faces. And you realize the confidence comes when everybody learns how to operate their system. When everyone learns how to grow past the mistakes and challenges. And when everyone rises above the defeats to the victories. And you realize it's just a matter of perception. And by changing our perception, we change everything. Holding that idea in our heart, sending out love into the world, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment, filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment, filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it, my friends. We've made it to the end of another week. Thank you very much for being here. Have a great weekend. It's the last weekend of the Olympics. Let's hope good thoughts go on there, because there's been a lot of nonsense and talk about things. So let's just think good thoughts for the Olympics. Let's think good thoughts for the world, and let's come back next week all safe and sound. What do you say? Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.